Hello, VC. It's Sunday. It's the bank holiday, May bank holiday. Um, just coming to you here from Cork, where at the moment the Southern Gothic Festival is going on. It's a an annual festival which goes on here in the city, particularly um, centered around a pub called Crane Lane Theatre, which is a kind of a major music um, venue here in Cork, which has been open for approximately 10 years. Weekend of this festival has been running for about maybe 3 years now. Um, as the name kind of suggests, Southern Gothic. A lot of the bands are a lot of them are from the States. They're what you might call kind of Americana, um, but it's kind of broadened a bit in the last couple of years. So there's a lot of bands like post-punk, punk, experimental, blue. It's become quite wide ranging in the kind of music acts that are represented. So been going to a few gigs over the weekend. First one I went to is by this group. They're called the ZZZs. They are a female trio from Japan, and that is them playing there now in the background. They're kind of, I suppose you'd call them they're kind of neo post punk, I suppose. There's a bit of a Killing Joke kind of pop group kind of influence in there, a little bit industrial maybe. So I went to see them on Friday. Um, they're three absolutely outstanding musicians. I got the CD. I got it signed by all three of them as well after the gig. The guitarist, I'm afraid I don't know her name. Her name is actually here somewhere in English, but I can't say for sure which one it is. But the guitarist and front woman of the band, she is absolutely amazing. Just the kind of things she was doing with the guitar. Um, uh, they also have these kind of mini posters. I didn't actually see any of them when I was coming in, but I saw some few people had them. The only one I was able to grab was this one, which somebody left behind on a bar stool, and it's all kind of crumpled and everything. But I can also add it's kind of irrelevant really, but they are three extremely attractive women. I went along with my girlfriend, and when they came on stage, like she doesn't know anything about them, she said, "So this is the reason you wanted to go to see them, isn't it? Three attractive Asian women, you know." But they are a fantastic group. They're a fantastic live act, and they are very very talented musicians. And I think we'll be hearing more of them in the future. I think they've only been around for a short while. So ZZZs, they're called. Now on the same day, no, they appeared at 5:30 in the day. I decided I'd go see this other group who are appearing in the evening, which probably wasn't a good idea in the long term, because I ended up way too much to drink, and I got kind of locked, drunk. Second group that evening I went to see is sorry, Barons Whitfield and the Savages. That's Barents Whitfield, sorry, himself there. They're from Boston. They're kind of blues rock, kind of R&B in the old style of the word. A bit kind of it's been kind of in this kind of a bit of a Dr. Feelgood thing going on as well. Very good live act, and Barents Whitfield himself is extremely capable frontman. Um, I bought the CD as well, which I was I was hoping to get Barnes Whitfield himself to sign it, but actually he was actually this is after Gig. He was after disappearing at that stage. I don't know where he went, but I got the the other band members to sign it. Uh, but unfortunately, I didn't get him Barnes Whitfield himself to sign it because I don't know. He might have gone to the toilet or something. I don't know. There was no sign of him anyway. So now last night, the group playing were the Membranes. They are a British post-punk band. They've been around a while. They were formed in 1977. There we go. They've reformed recently after a long hiatus. Fantastic live show. That's actually now frontman John Robb. That's in there. He actually did a spoken word show as well today, which I just came from about an hour ago. Now, last night's show, I picked up. They had these 7-inch singles for sale. This is Time Warp 1991, which, despite the title, it actually came out in 1987. And this is actually an original copy. This is not a repress. I just noticed that. So I spoke to John Robb after the show and got him to sign this. He's an amazing guy. He's a great character. Very, very nice guy. And he's an amazing frontman. The spoken word show he put on today, it's very, very entertaining. He's talking about, coming from Blackpool in England, just a kind of small provincial town, and about the start of punk rock. And he's talking about a lot of things, but he's a very, very entertaining speaker. He spoke for well over an hour, which, you could listen to him all day. He also had a career as a journalist, and he was one of the first journalists to interview Nirvana before they became famous. He was telling a very interesting anecdote about that as well. So the Membranes. Okay, so that's Southern. This T-shirt, this was given free to everybody who came to the ZZZ's gig, by the way. So so now let's get on to some vinyl pickups. This is something very interesting that I picked up in Plugged, which is my local kind of independent record store. I found this in the half price section, and you might remember that I showed you a Nurse with Wound record store day release a while back, which I found in the same section as well at half price. So this was in there. It's by Christoph Gloala. It's called Erde 80, and this is a reissue of an EP which originally came out in the early 80s. So Christoph Gloala, he's from Berlin. This was all recorded between 1979 and 81. The original is supposedly very, very rare, and this is a reissue that came out a couple of years ago. It's one of 600 copies, and it's on yellow vinyl. It's kind of musically, it's kind of synth punk, dark wave, I suppose you could call it. It is well worth tracking down if you can get hold of this. It's I really like that kind of that early synth kind of you know, kind of experimental synth music from that period. And so if you're into that kind of thing, this will be right up your street. They got a sticker here, compares it to Fad Gadget and Throbbing Gristle. Yeah, there is kind of, you can hear elements of those acts in this. So there we go. Now, what I'm going to show you next is something which I picked up in a charity shop. Django Reinhardt, Djangology. When I spotted this, you know, the thing with charity shops is a lot of the time the condition of the record can be, you know, not great. It's not something that they take into account really a lot. So I was looking at it, I grabbed it, I took the record out to see, and I was hoping to myself, please don't be trashed, please. But it's not in great condition. It's pretty scratched. I haven't played it yet. I suppose it looks playable. It looks playable enough, but you know, it definitely won't sound very good. And the thing with Jano Reinhardt is, you know, it's you know, any kind of crackle or pop or any kind of annoying sounds really kind of detract from, you know, that kind of music, you know. So but it's saying that, it's only a couple of euros, and I like the cover. I mean, even if it won't play, I think I'll still hang on to it. Just, you know, you can always, you know, frame the cover or just have it as a kind of, have it up somewhere, just kind of on display, you know. So there we go. Now the next record I'm going to show you is one that has been shown before by Ben Costello. Ben is a massive fan of this musician, of this artist, and that is Louis Stewart. And Louis Stewart is one of Ireland's top jazz artists. In fact, he's probably, quite possibly, one of the world's top jazz guitarists. Musically, like, he has quite a bit in common with Django Reinhardt. Now, he may not have the kind of panache of Reinhardt, but certainly he has the, you know, the skill. Now this is called Out on His Own, and it is an Irish pressing on a label called Livia. It's in absolutely fantastic condition. You know, it's looks barely played. I have played it, and it plays perfectly. And you know, it's just really is a pleasure to play something like this, because, you know, because again with Reinhardt, with Reinhardt, this is something that really, any kind of annoying noise or popping or clicking or anything, you know, it really kind of detracts, you know, from kind of music like this. Whereas if you're playing something now like Black Sabbath, kind of, you know, anything like that will probably be drowned out. You know, you probably wouldn't notice it as much. And you know, speaking of Black Sabbath, I got this in the same shop where I got those Black Sabbath vertical swirls, which I showed a few weeks back. And that brings us on to the next record I'm going to show you. Now, you just have to bear with me because I have an interesting story to tell behind my next record. It's not vinyl related, but it is a very interesting story. In Ben's most recent video, he showed a jazz record which was on a label called Mood. I remembered spotting a record on that label in this same shop some time back. I know that label, I've seen that label before. I can't specifically remember what the album was. I can kind of picture it in my head what it looks like, but I decided, I'd grab it. I'll give it to Ben as a VCLT. I couldn't find it, but I did find something which I think is just as interesting. Now, Ben, I hope you'll excuse me showing this, because I'm going to give it to you, but the reason I'm showing it before you is because it kind of ties in with my story. This is on a label which I'd never seen before, called Ego, which is a German label, and this is the Les Ek Zadlo Quartet. Now, Leszek Zadlo, he is Polish, saxophonist, and this came out in 1976. This is free jazz, very much in the free jazz kind of genre. That's the label, by the way. I think it looks a bit like the ECM label, doesn't it? Kind of. But anyway, I was browsing in the shop. I had this in my hand because I'd seen it. I spotted it and I thought, well, you know what, this is very interesting. This guy comes into the shop, an English guy, big fella, big tall guy, with a camera, big camera around his neck. Sorry, just excuse me. Just thought it might be a bit loud there and you mightn't be able to hear me, but anyway, this gentleman comes into the shop, an English guy, with a kind of a London accent, big fella. He has a laminated kind of a pass hanging around his neck, you know, like those kind of press passes. And he was in buying something which he'd been looking at earlier, I think, because the guy in the shop was saying, "Oh, you're back, and I have your," I think it was a book or something, I'm not sure. But anyway, they're chatting, and the guy in the shop, he's a very chatty kind of a guy. He was asking this chap, you know, "Are you a professional photographer?" The guy was saying, "Yes, he is." Yeah, he started going on about how his job involves taking photos on movie sets, and he was talking about taking photos on the set of one of the Fast and the Furious movies. He was describing some kind of a stunt, and I was listening away. I was kind of browsing at the same time, but kind of listening, kind of, you know, it was kind of interesting. It was, you know, the way you would. And the guy was saying, "I'm going over to England in a few days to cover a big breaking news story." And then he said, "I was part of a news story myself a few years ago. I spent 8 years in prison for a murder I didn't commit." Which, now, can I just say, for viewers in the UK will know who I'm talking about, probably know who I'm talking about, and any viewers in Ireland, because the story was kind of, it was covered here as well. But for anybody in the US, probably pretty unlikely to know who this guy is, or anybody kind of outside Ireland or the UK. But just a bit of background information. About 15 years ago, there was this journalist, BBC journalist by the name of Jill Dando. She was a very high-profile TV journalist with the BBC. In, I think it was 1999, She was coming out of her house in central London, and somebody shot her execution style in the head. Now, this particular chap called Barry George is his name. He was kind of regarded as a bit of a local oddball. He lived not far from the scene. He was arrested and charged on very, very flimsy evidence, it must be said. Now there is no, there's no, he is a very strange character. He had a kind of string of previous convictions for kind of weird kind of stalker kind of stuff. He was obsessed with female celebrities. He had loads of photographs of women in his house who he'd be kind of following around and taking pictures of them. So he was a bit of a strange character, but there was kind of very flimsy evidence against him. It must be said. So he was in jail for 8 years. Was an appeal mounted, and he got off. He was actually his conviction was overturned, but he's half Irish. His mother is Irish, and he has a sister living just outside of Cork. And there's been kind of rumours going around for years that Barry George, he's living in, it's a place called Ballincollig. It's outside of Cork. He's living in Ballincollig. But nobody had ever actually seen him, and it was like kind of rumours going around. But as soon as he said, that he'd spent 8 years in jail because I thought he looked vaguely familiar, then it kind of dawned on me that who he was. But the guy in the shop was like, he was completely taken aback, and then he started shaking his hand and going, "Barry George," and "You were a victim of miscarriage of justice," and "Oh, it's great." And it was like a kind of a movie star or something had come into his shop. He was delighted. But Barry George himself, he spotted the LP in my hand, and he was saying, "Oh, you're into jazz, are you?" And I was going, "Oh, well, yeah." And he was saying something to me about he was recommending some jazz pianist. To be honest, I can't remember now who it was. I think it was somebody whose surname was Holland. But he was saying, "Oh, you must check it. You must check out this pianist, something Holland, Tom Holland maybe." And but like for people, maybe people in the United States who don't know who this guy is, it's kind of, if you just kind of imagine somebody really notorious, kind of kind of randomly meeting that person in a kind of in a bookshop, and it was kind of surreal. It was kind of a surreal meeting. But whether he actually killed her or not, I don't know. A lot of people, it's very much, people are kind of split. People's opinions are split, and a lot of people think he did it. Admittedly, there isn't a lot of evidence there that he did, but I don't know. I'm not saying whether he did or not. But anyway, sorry for rambling on a bit about that, but I thought it was an interesting story to share. This is something else that I got for Ben, by the way. I picked this up for him because it's something that he was looking for, and I spotted it in my local Implode, in my local independent record store, and I knew he was looking for this, so I grabbed this for him. It's Life Without Buildings. It's the name of the band, Life Without Buildings. Any Other City. It's a record store day release. Limited edition. It's a reissue of an album which I think came out around about 2000. It was already open, by the way, so it comes with a single as well, a 7-inch single, and that's the download code. So there we go. I'm after kind of going Yeah, it's kind of on 25 minutes now, so I'd probably better leave it at that. So everybody have a great May bank holiday weekend, and I'll talk to you again. And thanks very much for watching.